Welcome to The Mix, a fusion dance podcast where we dive into the world of blending dances and all that comes with it. We're talking about everything from the highs of nailing that perfect combo to the lows, emotional, and mental challenges and more. And if you're new to the dance scene, don't worry, we've got you covered with practical tips to help get you started, feel comfortable, and most importantly, have fun. So come on in. We can't wait to dance with you. Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, what's going on?
Oh, we're live. We're live.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute since I've been in LA.
Mm.
And we have both just finished a dance weekender. What do you call it? Dance fusion.
Dance
I know,
exchange,
right? It's like a
weekend
3-day
conference,
dance fest.
congress,
Yeah.
collective
Yeah. I don't
consortium.
know what to call it. Whenever LA has one, like, what do we call it? Anyways. And so we're recovering from that currently right now. But before
Ooh.
that, I disappeared from you guys. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. It's weird. It's now April. And I haven't touched ground over there since January, mid-January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I was about to be like, do you miss me? But I was like, I just saw you this past weekend. So
Yeah. It was like, hey, hi, what's up? All right.
yeah. Oh,
Oh
I
my
didn't realize you
gosh.
knew everyone. But yeah, no. Yeah, I just flew out and I was like, peace, bye.
Where'd you go? Where'd you disappear to?
I was just backpacking South America. It's been on my bucket list for a while. So
Mhm.
finally like bit the bullet and decided to go.
Yeah.
God, I feel so tired. We're so like flat energy in this.
I feel like if this was like what it's like 2 in the afternoon right now. If this were 2 in the morning, we'd be like, wow, like wired. That's just how destroyed our like sleep schedules are right now. It's like, yeah,
That is so true. Yeah. These
yeah,
dance weekends, you're like, because the one we went to, the latest I went to was like 3 a.m. But by the time you get back to your place, you shower and everything, it's like 5 a.m. And if you
yeah,
choose to go to classes, you're waking
hmm
up the next day already, like at
yeah,
like 10 or 11. So, like,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that part.
yeah.
Do you feel like there was like a culture shock coming back? Like, was there a moment that you were like, whoa, wait, where am I? The subtitles changed, or do you feel like you're just like, I'm chilling?
I think it was more of a price sticker shock where you're like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah,
Lord, I forgot.
yeah,
I forgot we tip here. I mean, I remember we tip here, but it's just one of those things where you're like, oh man, it's not it's not cheap. It's not cheap here.
hmm
You have to think about budget and all that kind of stuff. Or even an Uber ride, it's not $5 anymore,
hmm
like it was in South America. That was really nice.
Like they'll take you up the street for about like $5 over here, maybe. And
And you
they
tip, and
and you
you,
tip. Oh my God.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I felt like in South America, I was just like, oh, I'll take an Uber everywhere I go. I don't have to use the metro. And it was like five, maybe $10. Maybe if it's a long distance to the airport, I think $15 to $20. And after a while, your the prices in your head gets distorted. I remember being like
hmm
$15 for an Uber. That's so expensive. But it's because when you've been traveling in an area for that the prices are usually five or even less.
hmm
Um, Everything like a $15 to $20 ride feels cheap because I mean
Yeah.
expensive because you're like
Yeah.
compared to everything else, you're like, this is ridiculous. And then you're like,
hmm
Trang, $15 is very cheap in LA.
hmm
So yeah,
Oh
so
my
I think it's
gosh.
more like the price sticker shock. But I will say though, in some of the major cities in US, it made me appreciate Los Angeles more in terms that we have such a robust dance scene because it
Mm.
made me
Yeah.
see how you think there would be dancing everywhere on all the blocks or something like that in South America, maybe like that, salsa
Yeah.
or like
Like the
bachata
music videos make it seem like it's like, oh, everyone they're dancing all the time. Like, oh,
on the beach
like
with a
baile
crew
en la
behind
calle,
them.
en la playa, like everywhere. They're just moving. They're just breathing dance.
Yeah, and then you forget, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a set. It's a set. They all filmed it. My whole team.
It was probably filmed in like Norway or Ireland or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that's what international people think about Americans. They're like, oh, we see people doing this. And you're like, no, we don't do that. But no, it wasn't. It was actually hard to find. Like for example, I was looking up swing or like West Coast swing, and maybe in a country in a major city, they'll have it once a month. Like, here, there's like a couple events happening every week.
yeah.
At least one or two of them at least in LA or OC combined. But yeah, there it was like once a month. But even like salsa and like bachata or Latin dances, it wasn't. It was also hard to find. Like
hmm
I think because those countries maybe their SEO they don't have SEO or it's more of like I remember an instructor saying like, oh, if you're here, like the locals know what Instagram pages to follow, and so they're more
hmm
like Instagram, but you don't know the name of the Instagram pages to
hmm
follow. So like
hmm
finding those places are really hard,
Yeah.
or finding like a club that
that's a restaurant that plays salsa at the end of the night or something like that. Whereas like salsa or bachata in LA, it's every single night there's a location. Speaking of that, in our podcast show notes and also our link in our bio on our social media page, we have a list of all places to social dance and maybe find some classes. So you don't have to be frustrated and find them yourself. So make sure to check that free resource out. But yeah, so I think that's one thing I was grateful for coming back, realizing how good and spoiled we have it in LA, even though it might be overwhelming because there's so many choices in LA to choose from. There's Zouk, there's Kids, there's all sorts of swing and stuff like that.
Bachata and
Mhm.
salsa on one, on two,
Oh,
Cuban.
yeah.
Mhm.
But that's LA and OC, right? But even the smaller cities in America won't have that. So we are, even though it's overwhelming, like sometimes overwhelming for me to be like, what dance do I want to do? For this week, we at least we have those options. So that's one thing it made me be like more appreciative, being like, this is not the norm for a lot of places.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's kind of like it shakes up your perception of these other places when you're realizing you're like, oh, I have to look for this. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not just happening everywhere around me. And it was interesting being in LA and then kind of coming back here to the East Coast and just seeing like that, like the availability of the like, oh, on Tuesday, I'm like, oh, I have this many options on Tuesday for something in LA. I'm like, I could go here, I could go there, and you kind
Right.
of get used to that. Like, well, if I don't want to go, I don't have to. Versus like being here, at least in this, it's a smaller city and everything. That like, oh, Friday, Saturday might have something, but
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I can choose all these options. It's like, oh, there might be salsa here, and there might be swing there, and that's about it. Or there may be a Zouk thing, but that's so much further, and I need to carpool, and you plan ahead of time, and all this kind of stuff. It's not like down the street, up the corner, and around the way, you know.
Yeah, it takes more mental load, especially I didn't research as hard because I was like, I assumed that like it's gonna be everywhere, especially in Colombia when you're like, oh, there I hear salsa music or whatever playing down the street, and you realize that's just the background music we play at an ice cream shop.
Yeah,
Like, here they play top 40
yeah.
music in a lot of places. Over there,
Mhm.
it's like salsa music. So every
Yeah,
time you're just
yeah.
like, oh, I started
You're
around
like
around the
hoping
corner. I'm
people are
like,
gonna start dancing and stuff. You're like
on the street is
waiting.
yeah. And then you're like, oh, that's just their background music. Okay. That happens a
Maybe
lot.
maybe you have to start the party. Maybe you have to be like you have to come out with like a dress or something and just like start just
I bet you they'd look and be like,
posturing.
what is this tourist doing?
You're like, yo, get out, like go home.
One thing I did miss, and this wasn't until like weeks into the trip, was how back home you're usually after you start dancing at the same places, you get, you kind of become dance hobby friends with people because you're like, I see you every
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
you kind of catch up with them, all that kind of stuff. And you're surrounded by people who love to dance and they get hype and they get excited and they like to talk about dance. Like
Hmm,
it's kind of
hmm.
like just after dance, you just talk about the dances you had, the music or whatever. And you talk about like the next event or, oh, are you going to this or are you going to next
Yeah.
week's thing, right? I didn't have that. It was just me. I went by myself, which is normal, but it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I have no one to share this with to be like, not that I dance, I dance a lot less than I wanted to, but there weren't a lot of dance socials I went to because it was hard, either one, hard to find, or two, there wasn't one happening in town, but when I was there in a specific
Yeah,
city.
yeah.
So I really miss dance, social dancing a lot. And, I think that's part of the excitement when you can talk about it and talk about your experiences or
Mhm,
and whatnot. So that was one thing, another thing I appreciate about, I guess essentially you can call it like the dance community,
mhm. Yeah,
or having a dance friends. Yeah.
yeah.
Or you would tell me about like, oh, at this fusion event, and I'd be like, that's nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have been like, oh no, it was terrible. Oh, you didn't miss anything. No one was there. The floor was just like, it was too sticky. The music was just bad.
No,
Yeah.
it was opposite. I was like, I had this amazing dance with so and so. I was like, oh, did anyone record it? No. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because
Terrible.
like there were a lot of people who asked like they were like, oh, where's Trang? Where's Trang? Where's Trang?
Oh,
Where's Trang? And I'm like,
thank you for being my PR spokesperson.
just hold
Uh,
on, she'll be back. Like she'll be back. It's so like she's not she didn't leave us forever. She didn't abandon us. Okay, it's okay. She's coming back. She'll be
she
here.
needed a
Okay.
break from us. No.
She
Uh,
we've been overwhelming her. Okay, when she shows up at events and she has to like just put on her what's the pin they wear, like the mayor pin. She has to like
oh,
go and just like put out fires and help with logistics problems. She's like, no, I just need some time off. I need to chill out. I'm back here.
yeah.
So
I
she'll
guess it's
she'll
not
be back.
normal to like just bounce for like 2, 3 months and go to another continent. So
Yeah. I mean, but it should be like if that's what you need to refill, like, yo, do what you got to do to refill, man. Like there's this meme that that my girlfriend sent me a little while ago, and it was talking about like missing someone. It was like, oh, like missing someone and then realizing you have free will, and it was like this moment of like, oh, I can just like do stuff. Like that was like the point of it, right? It was just like if I want, I can just go somewhere and just like do a thing. Like I don't have to wait for permission to like go, you know? So like for you, it's like traveling is like super restorative, you know? It puts you in a whole different place in a different state. And it's like yeah, if you want to just get up and leave for a couple months, like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a traveler first before a dancer. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's always been my number one passion. So if anyone has any questions about, I can talk about dance for like say 40 hours a week, but I can
Mhm.
talk for travel about I don't know, 1,000 hours a week, although there's not 1,000 hours in a week, but you know what I mean? Like there's
I
so
get
much.
you, yeah.
I think speaking of travel and dance, this was like one of those insights or aha moments where you're just like, oh, it hit me weeks later after my trip, a few weeks later. So actually when I got back to the States and you know, your mind kind of wanders off and you're like, oh, it clicked with me was so you know how we talk about and people might debate about this about being like, oh, in fusion, it's great when you have like a lot of dance backgrounds or experiences
Mm,
with different dance backgrounds, right? And some people are like, well, might argue and say, well, maybe it's just I dance a certain way, and if people don't like to dance that style, like that's fine. Like this is my style. This is
yeah.
my how I dance fusion, right?
Mhm.
Because I think I've heard some of this conversation where it's like people say, "Oh, there's fusion dance as a style," and then some people are like, "I don't think fusion is a style. I think you just come and you fuse different styles together. You come in with
Yeah.
different backgrounds that you already know already, and you
Hmm.
learn how to fuse it and mix it together on the floor."
Hmm.
So, what I would say, this analogy, I guess, is so most of South America, except for Brazil, speaks Spanish. Brazil speaks Portuguese.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it speaks what? Yeah, it's speaks Portuguese,
Mhm.
right? And when you know, just in general, if you travel in the entire world, you can get by with just pantomiming, you know, or like pointing and making like you know, pointing to things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be hard though. You know, I've had that. I've done that before I knew what Google Translate app
That's
was,
good.
right? But if
Yeah.
you imagine if you knew a lot of languages in the world, you can get by easily. Or
Yeah,
you can get
yeah,
by
yeah,
more,
yeah, yeah.
even the basics, right?
Yeah.
You can figure out how to order on the menu, or how to get around, ask for help in their language.
Hmm.
So it's even a big bonus if you knew you were fluent in that language and you knew the idioms, the slang,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you could connect with people so well.
Yes, yes.
Imagine if you were a it was, I think it's called a polyglot, but where they just
Polyglot,
know,
yeah.
yeah, where they know all these languages, right? So it clicked with me for dance, like salsa's a language, West
Hmm.
Coast swing's a language,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So if you, for me as a follower, if I know the basics of a lot of these dances, I can connect with so many more people on the dance floor, not just LA. Like I like imagine going to a dance scene that a fusion dance scene you don't even like with people you don't even know. So you're on the dance floor and you're and I'm like, English? No? Okay. Espanol? No?
Hmm.
Okay. And then you know they're nodding their head like no. And then they say like Portuguesa? I'm like, no. And we're like, okay, we don't speak any language. How are we gonna figure this out on the dance floor? It's gonna be a
Yeah.
little bit trickier, right?
Hmm.
And there's no like dance floor Google Translate app, all right? I swear,
Wait.
I would love to be sponsored by Google Translate app or like do a collaboration with them because that saved my life so many times on the trip.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, before like back in the day when I backpacked around the world, it was not man, it was a lot rougher. But that's the thing. It's like so I feel like that is an analogy where I can say like I guess support how my philosophy of fusion dancing of if the more languages you know on the dance floor, the more you can connect with people around the world, with
Yeah,
whoever you dance with at whatever
yeah,
dance scene. So that was the analogy I
yeah.
made, and I was like, oh yes,
No,
yes, yes.
that's really good. That's super, super good. And
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I don't believe that you have to have some other dance background to dance fusion. Like, and like the reason I say that is because there are some people who have just jumped right into fusion and and they get it. They recognize it. They're just like they're there. And I think that's because they understand and they're probably from what I've noticed, they seem to be really empathetic people. Like they seem to be really, I'm going to sit with you, like high emotional intelligence people. like they're watching body language, they're picking up on the subtleties, and so they're able to kind of mirror what's happening without knowing why it works. They just know that it works. And while they may not necessarily have the most like the technique might not be exactly this or that, it's like they're picking it up and you're like, oh, this feels really intuitive, this feels really fluid. Like I was dancing with someone who, you know, they were like, oh, I don't have any other dance background other than fusion. And I was like, I just did like 12 different things from like three different styles, and you picked up on all of them. And like what do you mean? Right? But like for some people, if you're listening to music and you're really present, you can do that. However, I think for the vast majority of folks, you're going to have a much better time connecting with people if you learn these other pick a style. It doesn't even I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like if you pick a style, right? You pick a walking dance or a grooving dance. You pick a style that's going to push you, that's maybe a little out of your comfort zone. It's going to give you more vocabulary. It's going to give you more ideas, more ways to see the world, more lenses to view the dance and the music and the connection, and it gives you more to play with, you know? So yeah, I do think it if you're a dancer, right? If you're a fusion dancer, then like yeah, learning another style is an incredibly important way to grow as a dancer and connect with more people, which should be the goal. I feel like that's the goal. It's like connecting with people and like actually having these just amazing moments, not just in the dances, outside the dances too, right? But like especially in the dances.
Yeah, I remember talking with an advanced dancer where they compete, and they've been training and stuff like that ever since they were a teenager.
Mhm.
And I remember him saying, like, I want to be able to dance with people that can do the things I lead them into, but if your vocabulary, your dance vocabulary or follow vocabulary isn't that wide, then it's frustrating. Or, like I essentially being like, I don't really want, like, you're not going to enjoy the dance as much because you can't do much, you know?
Mhm.
It's like going into a kitchen, someone just gives you a pot and a spoon, and that's it. And you're like, oh, can I get the full range of the whole pot set?
Yeah,
Can I get more tools to work with? Right.
yeah, yeah.
So, and then it made me be like, because I knew I was definitely a less advanced dancer. And I was like, okay, well, I won't dance with you.
Mhm.
But no, just more so not like feeling bad about myself, just more of like, I want to learn more to be able to dance at that level, dance with people at that level so they can feel confident in leading me into whatever
Mhm.
artistic like creation they have for a certain song.
I have a question, especially because although I know you weren't doing as much dancing as you would have liked, there were like you did take some classes and like and things like that. Were there ideas that you picked up on while you were traveling that you hadn't been exposed to before? Do you have any like light bulb moments from some of the privates or classes?
No. I think no, I think no, no.
No.
So I think okay. So with the classes, you come in, I think
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
it's like you're waiting for a really great answer. I was like, nah, I got nothing.
Like,
I
nah,
went to
man.
class and that was it. I will say though, I think one thing I regretted, but it's one of those things you don't know until you get there, is again, Googling for dance schools that teach in English, that took time too. And it's gonna be in major cities, not all the cities you think are gonna be there, and like scheduling and stuff like that. And when I actually travel, it's funny, me as like an A-type person. So in the States, I'm more like that. But when I travel, I'm a bit more go with the flow because I'm traveling alone. I do what I want whenever I want. No one can really contact me if they, or I get back to them whenever I want to. So I'm definitely more go with the flow. I don't actually plan when it's a long trip like this. I don't really plan in advance. I know how to pace myself. Like this is not my big first trip. I've traveled like way back in the day for like overseas for 2 years alone, So I know that if you plan for large trips like this way too much in advance, you're gonna like burn out. And even
Yeah.
then I kind of started getting, I don't say travel burnout, just more like things starting looking the same. And I wasn't,
Mhm.
but that was probably like 5 weeks into my trip. But anyways, with classes, no, I took privates because it's much cheaper and affordable in South America. I regretted not taking more
Mm.
because I didn't know, um, especially because Colombia was the first country and there was a dance school I found there and it was $20 for a private lesson. $20 for a private lesson, one-on-one. So yeah. And
Yeah.
so I did take a salsa and Zouk class. I've never done Zouk, but I got like the basics down. And I do appreciate, with privates, they're expensive, especially in the States, but you do learn a lot more instead of like an open class or a group class. And then in the other countries, it was harder. I didn't realize it was going to be harder to find dance schools that maybe have an English instructor, or it was slightly more expensive. So in Argentina, it's a bit more of an expensive country. And so a private is $45 to $50. So it's not like, it's still cheaper in America, but it's not something you can do. It's still not cheap. So that's one thing where like in Colombia, they did have people that did do, that did teach in tango. So it was like, if I could go back, this is more of a budget type advice. So if I could go back, I would have stayed longer and taken a lot more classes. And I can see why when people say, oh, I'm going to go for a month and do like a dance intensive in this country or whatever, it was really hard to try to sightsee and schedule in dance classes and try to find dance socials at the same time. So that's why I think I wasn't able to dance as much as I could. It was just a lot in terms of like researching. And I was like, I'm too lazy to research. So hardcore like that. So I think that's one regret but it's one of those things, regrets I wouldn't have known until I traveled the whole continent and be like, okay, if I were to redo this, I would. But no, going in, I do like private classes now. Like, I'm like, oh, there's so much more attention on you, or the teacher can see what you're doing wrong. Whereas group classes, you just learn a pattern usually and whatnot, but they're not going to be able to tell and touch your hand and be like, okay, I need you to fix this connection. This is what you're doing. And the connection's such a fundamental thing that in partner dancing, that if you don't get that right, your partners aren't going to have a good dance, because they're like, this isn't, I can't feel you. Like, I don't know where I'm going or and whatnot. So that's where I think private or like really intimate classes where the teacher can go up and be like, okay, hold my hand. I want to see where you're going. I want you to dance with me. I'm gonna give you like feedback that you need to apply right now. You know? Yeah. So that's that. And but other than that, like, I feel like I come in as a student. I don't come in. I come in. It's I want to say it's like humbling, because I'm not like Kaylin, where I have a big ego and I come in being like, I know all this stuff. Please don't spit out your teeth.
That's so aggressive for no reason. Wow. Like, wow.
Chang's a douchebag. Wow. Yeah. This is the 2 a.m.
I come into class. I'm just like, oh, okay. What are we gonna mess up today? Like, to the teacher, just aggressive apparently.
You're like, I know this already. This is just a refresher.
I'm like, boring.
Oh, you know what? Actually, in salsa, when I took that salsa class, I've never taken a salsa private. I've only taken salsa like group classes that, and they're like a free salsa class on the plaza. And you're like, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7.
We're going to do this now. And then you're going to turn your partner, make sure you put the halo over the head type thing. Yeah.
So to me, when I started, like, I was just like, oh, there's like choreography, but it's actually not. Like, you don't even learn about connection, right? So like when I took it, I remember when I started dancing with you, I was like, this guy leads so light. Like, I was like, he's a lighter lead, and I can follow you still. I was able to follow you, but I felt like I had to think so much harder and like really feel, instead of someone that leads me like firmly. And I'm like, okay, he's definitely pushing me to the left. For me, it was like, I think he's pushing me to the left. I think. Okay, I'm gonna go to the left. It was like very like that, very like hesitant. And, and I know some people, especially when they compete and stuff or get more advanced, they're more of a light, they lead lightly or, so, and then I took the salsa class and the zouk class with the same instructor, because they only had like a few that spoke English. And the connection his lead was so light, the whole thing. And I was like, oh, it clicked with me. That's why Kaylin has a light lead, because he leads like his connection is like Latin. It's Latin. It's not swing, where it's a bit more like firm, grippy feel. It was Latin. I was like, all this time, I was like, why is he so light?
Yeah, that's vindication right there. That's what that is. So people are like, oh, he's a light lead. I'm like, no, I'm a South American lead. Thank you. Put some respect on my name.
So I was like, that clicked. I was like, oh, so now it made me be like, okay, I feel like with any partner dance, I want to learn of a completely different genre, then maybe I should just take at least one private just to get the connection right, So yeah, sorry for all those times I complained that you were a light lead and I couldn't like feel anything. I realized that it's just me not knowing enough.
Okay.
me blaming you.
It's great. I don't even know if that's the right direction. I don't know. I'm not Catholic, but thank you. Thank you. I feel no. It's funny because like we were doing a workshop this past weekend. I won't say too much on it. We can say that for another episode. But they did this exercise where they had us like we were trying to kind of lead our partners, and the idea was like you're supposed to lead them within your range of movement, where like past a certain point I'm overextended. Past a certain point my arm is too far in front of me or it's too close to my chest, right? And like, how do you find that range for yourself? And then how do you find that range for your partner? And how do you stay in the zone where you're not overextending yourself or overextending them? And what it was teaching, other than isolating, is how to be quieter in your connection, where you're not. What I see a lot of people do when they first get into salsa is like, and every single time I've done like a lesson or something like that, there's always a person who, and I love the enthusiasm and the energy, but they do the thing where they like move their hands a lot and they do like this while they're dancing because that's what they think it is. They're like, oh, salsa's this, so they move their entire
I'm guilty.
body.
I'm so guilty of that.
With the shoulder bops and everything.
It's so cringe when you look back at old videos and you're like, oh my goodness. Because you know why? It's like
Mhm.
it's like when you watch something,
Mhm.
like if you tell someone imitate a ballerina, they're gonna do something that they think looks like it. And then
Yes.
when you actually learn ballet, you're like, it's actually
Mhm.
not that. So same thing with salsa, where it's like it looks very shimmy, very
Mhm.
very like loud in the body movement, but there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of control.
Yes, yes. And it's like it's very easy to look at it and see, oh well, this looks like this, so I'm gonna do that. But when you actually have the chance to slow down and learn it, like when you actually are, whether it's in an intensive class like we were taking, or having that one-on-one where someone can actually be like, hey, do this instead of that. Like you're trying to do this, but this is the thing. Like if you're not in those spaces, you just don't know. And learning how to control and how to be, and that's one of the reasons I prefer to be a much more subtle or lighter lead, is because it's like it's clear communication when I'm not adding a lot and you're not adding a lot. So like any change at all, any change in tension tells you exactly what's happening, you know? And really quick, we talked about this at like a late night with another lead, about the like knowing when to stop, right? When it comes to floor craft, when someone's like, coming into maybe they're coming into your slot, or they're trying to watch out from someone else. And so you're trying to watch out, and tell your partner, hey, that sharpness, right? Like when you have to give your partner a sharp stop, like, hey, someone's behind you and you don't have time. Because when I connect, because my connection tends to be softer and tends to be more subtle, if it's sharp, they know something is coming. Either something big, like I'm doing a big direction change, or I'm doing like a, hey, danger. It's like we're speaking like this, but if I raise my voice and I start screaming, like there's like, oh, something important is happening. So differences in connection is important to learn.
That should be like the all in bold, big 72 font size on a door and everywhere at dance for partner dancing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where now that I learned partner dancing more, and I know people keep saying connection. Even I know some of like high intermediate dancers that compete and stuff. When they take a lesson, a private with their coach or mentor, and they're like, "What do I need to work on?" Like because their coach will dance with them for a bit.
Yeah.
I remember this girl. She was like, "Ugh," he said, "I need to work on connection," and I was like, "No." It's like these people they dance well already, but there's always ways to improve on connection. And
yeah.
you're like, I'm tired of learning so much about the basics.
Mhm.
To
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everything is the basics. I mean, like the big ideas are built off the foundation. And it's funny because this is a conversation I had with a friend of mine who you met, and we have this thing because I like the top down approach and he likes the bottom up approach. He's like fundamentals and basics and everything, and I'm like, what's the reason I'm doing this? What's the essence of this thing? Because for me, I don't latch on to the basics until I have context. I need an end goal. I need a vision of what I'm trying to achieve before those things fit. But you need both of those, And I prefer a
Mhm.
class where they explain the concept of a dance or the concept of an idea more than the ones where they're like, this is step one, this is step two, this is step three, But you need both. Like you need both of those things. And like connection, that's a foundational idea, but the concept is the communication. Like how do you communicate? How are you communicating? What are you trying to say? What's the intent? What's your why? All that stuff. So yeah, connection.
Okay, so this reminds me of
Mhm.
back when I did like hip hop choreography,
Mhm.
and just learning hip hop, going to hip hop classes, because what it is they cram a lot of choreography. You just try to learn and memorize it in 45 minutes. It's not even an hour. The last 15 minutes is when it's like frighteningly where they put you in groups and they're like, okay, perform. And that's where you see the good groups there are, or they're on YouTube, and you're like, wow, that looks
Mhm.
so cool. So I guess I wonder, like, I have a question for like people listening in and stuff like that is what is your preference, right? Because there's people, like you said, where someone will teach you, okay, step one, step two, step three. Whereas for you, you're like, I want to, see the end result, but also be like, have context, right? So, but for me, I guess, there's teachers in class, let's say choreography class, where they show you step one, step two, step three, and then that kind of stuff. But I like the ones, but I don't know where it's going. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
they didn't play the music yet. I don't know
Mhm.
what it looks like. Like, what are we dancing to? Are we dancing to like a groovy hip hop song or like a
Mhm.
very fast, like rap, song, right?
Yeah.
So I like the teachers where they'll actually just show the routine. And then
Mm.
you say, that's what it's like, supposed to
Yeah.
be like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And then they show the moves. Cause then you're like, this is what when you're dancing to no music and you don't know like what the full 45 seconds of what that
Mhm.
dance supposed to look like, you're kind of, I feel like I was going in blind, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
everyone nodding and being like, oh, when they show the whole routine. And
Mhm.
so I think it's more of like, I like I would say like similar, I don't know if it's like exactly what you're saying with context, but I like to see
Mhm.
the whole entire scope of what it's
Yeah,
supposed to look like,
yeah.
and then be like, okay, go ahead, start teaching step one, two,
Mhm.
and three, you know?
Yeah. I would if we use like a food analogy because we love those here. It's like learning how to make a dessert, but tasting it first. Not just seeing a picture, because if you see a picture, okay, cool, you're like, this is what it'll look like. But the look doesn't tell you what the experience is like, It doesn't tell you what it's like to have your hands on it, to smell it and to taste it. Like, and for me, I'm like, I need to know what the essence of this thing is. I'm like, oh, it's nutty and it's rich and it's smooth. It's like it's all these different things. Like I need to get my hands on those things before I even care about why I use, this much peanut oil or this much what like I'm like I can do it. I can follow the instructions and do it, but there's no heart, there's no soul, there's no essence, there's no me in it. I can't put my stamp on it. I'm just at that point doing like what's it called, rote learning, where I'm just repeating stuff and I'm learning because you're telling me this. So I'm okay, I did it. Now I can perform this function, but I don't have any I'm not holding on to it. Yeah, I know there's a better way to phrase it, but that's what I got for now.
Yeah. Speaking of food, though, really side tangent here. What I love about dance socials and dance is that you meet people with different backgrounds in terms of what they do for work. And because you're talking about food, I met a food scientist.
Mm.
People that say like I think this is such a cool job, but
Hmm.
when you're making
In
ice cream,
Lancaster, right? You're talking about in Lancaster?
yeah,
Oh,
you're
I think
making,
I know who.
yeah,
I know who.
when you're making ice cream, you're like, who is the one that creates the flavors for the ice cream? That's what they do. And I was like,
Hmm.
this is amazing. Like, how fun,
Hmm.
but it can be frustrating, I'm sure. But being like,
Hmm.
okay, well, I got to revamp the red velvet ice cream flavor because that's what the client wants or that's what our company
Yeah,
wants.
yeah, yeah.
All right, we're going to do testing in the kitchen. Oh, that's so cool. Anyways,
Hmm.
okay. So back to originally, I'm going to bring back to something you brought earlier where you're saying it's rare, but there's some people that come in with no dance background and
Hmm.
they try out fusion and they seem to get it quickly, right? A
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
faster than like you'd be like, you don't have a dance background. But do you
Hmm.
feel like usually if they have an athletic background, some sort of
Yeah.
athleticism
Hmm.
in certain things, it helps? Like
Hmm.
for example, like
Yeah.
gymnastic. I'm just making this up.
Hmm.
I'm assuming like maybe gymnastics, something where their body is like there's a dexterity or like awareness of the muscles in their body.
Yeah, I do. I do. I think the reason is because with athletes, so I don't want to like cut you off. I'm just like excited about this question. But like it's a great question. I feel like athletes, people who are in some kind of like athletic performative craft, they have a better command of their body and their ability to see something and then do it. They don't have to, from what I've seen, right? Like this is just again my own personal observation and opinion here, but like whether it's um, gymnastics or wrestling or martial arts, especially martial arts. Oh my gosh, and even with martial arts, like there are often a lot of martial arts, traditional martial arts will have forms that you learn and you do these forms, and they're very similar to dances. The idea is you're going through a series of movements and you're practicing these things again and again and again. And I think good body mechanics, regardless of the sport, regardless of the athletic venture, they translate to dance. Like a lift or a jump or a turn or a twist, like those are things that you're performing in some way, shape, or form in these other things. So when you see it to music and with the person, you're like, oh, this is kind of like that. It's just softer, or it's a little sharper, or it's more flowy. And you're able to pick up on those things. And I think you're able to look and say, oh yeah, I get it a little bit, just a little bit faster. So you don't need as much coaching. You already have an internalized vocabulary. You just have to kind of like learn how to change some of those words. Yeah, there's a better analogy in there somewhere, but that's what we got for today, folks.
Yeah, I feel like the learning curve for
Mhm,
like moving or
mhm,
isolating certain parts of your body needed for a
mhm,
certain move, that learning curve is a lot less
mhm.
because you
And
kind of
it,
have that.
yeah.
Do you notice though, for when you dance with followers, maybe when they're like, I've only done fusion and that's it. What type of sports they've done that you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like these
Mhm,
followers have a same sport that makes them connect real easily to dance, or like they're doing a
mhm.
phenomenal job for just knowing with no dance background.
Off the top, I'd say gymnastics and pole. And
Pole
I think,
dancing.
yeah, pole dancing. The reason I think for both of those things although there are different, I've noticed different miscommunications kind of come up a lot, that the main thing is like core awareness. I don't want to say core strength, but it's like core awareness. Like their entire kinetic chain, their entire body, like from the top of the head down to like the ankles, is like it's active. So they're moving as a unit, and it doesn't feel like I have to force them in any one direction to know where I'm leading. And it feels like oh, they're actually like I'm connected to them, even though they may not understand what's happening. They're just matching my tension. It's like, oh, we can get to the connection part very easy. They may not necessarily know the exact cue for this thing or that turn. If I put my hand up a certain way, they may not realize I'm styling and I'm not asking them. So they might like reach. So I have to be very mindful, like, don't reach my hand this way. But like if I'm styling, to keep my hand away so they don't get that cue or something like that, right? But yeah, they match tension very, very, very well. So that's, yeah, I'd say those two.
Speaking of connection, when you go to, let's say when you went to Seattle Hi-Fi, or you go to a dance scene where you don't know these people, you're dancing with people you danced before. Do you still lead lightly, or do you kind of have like a default, like, let's say medium firmness? And then when you try dancing with them the first time, that's what you do with everyone, like a default setting, right? And then when you dance them a second time, you're like, oh, okay, they're a light lead or they're a heavy lead, and I'll adjust for this, for Sally or for Mary, because I know,
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, I try to start out very softly and increase up until I feel like that's the point that like they get it. I try to bridge it up. And if it's past a certain point, because I try to keep the same tension throughout the dance, unless for like, style or because the music calls for it, right? We shift down or we go up because it's more energy. I'll try to maintain that steady. But if it's like way past the point where it's like it's very like I'm moving them around very strongly, then I try to lessen it gradually so that they're picking up that like, oh, like let's use less force here, because we know it's coming, we know it's happening, we've established some rapport, but like let's take it down a notch. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious of other leads. It's like I'm like, comment down below. But for real though, I want to see if they because I know one of the dancers,
like don't send us no text message. Don't be like, oh my gosh, that like comment.
Oh, I know.
Please.
You know what?
Like
you guys have been maybe DMing us privately, texting us privately, more so Kaylin. Please copy and paste that in our comment section to push the algorithm out for. It's funny because it's like we do get reactions, but they're private, and I'm like,
it's like and let me also say thank you. Like, thank you for those who reach out and are just like, these are my thoughts, and because we do love it. We do love it. We're doing this because we love the conversation part.
We do. We've sat in cars before for like an hour talking about our dance after a dance social, and then we're like, oh wait, we need to make our ways over to Denny's, or we should probably be heading home right now. Okay.
Yeah. That being said, yeah, please leave comments. We need those.
Yeah, we were late
please.
soon. Yes. Just copy what you said and paste it. That's it. Over in the comment section.
And post like 12 fire emojis or something like that. Just let the algorithm know that like we're here and we matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even sharing the clips too. To other dance friends. I know that helps too. So, but thank you for the love. Thank you for listening. And it's cool though, because you're like, oh, people are like, they have thoughts to add to this discussion, because they'll be like, well, I actually like kind of disagree with so and so, and you're just like, oh, how so? And then when they give their opinion, you're like, oh, I can totally see that. See that where you're coming from, or like that makes sense. I didn't think of that perspective either. So it's kind of cool though. It's also cool being like, people listen to us. What?
Yeah, I still think about that. Weird. I'm still just like, what?
Oh, when I met
my
like
face
some
on
of
the
your
internet.
When I met some of your Pennsylvania friends, they're like, oh, and then when we became Instagram friends, they're like, oh, you're the person that does the podcast with him. I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
I love that. It's like they didn't recognize you. It was like the Superman Clark Kent thing. Like,
oh yeah, they recognize me on a Zoom screen, but not like when I'm wearing like baggy t-shirt and a hoodie and sweatpants to dance class. We'll get to it, but people do look different during my day. Like I'm sure I don't know what it is. Like a dance social, I'm like, cool, I see you, I know you, your hair is done a certain way. And then the next day, they're getting coffee on the street, and I'm like, wait, were you the one I danced with? You look it's like celebrities in public with no makeup on. You're like, is that you?
But it's so weird because like dances will be like sometimes the lighting is just like, it's like so dark, but you can
Yes.
like recognize. You're like, oh, I know this. Like this is someone. And even if you don't remember their name, you're like, oh, I remember. Like they had this style and this vibe, and they were like from this city. Like you can remember these things about them, but you see them in the day, and you're just like, excuse me, sir, I don't have any change on me. Like you're just like, I have no idea who you are, right? It's like,
You look like a regular, just a normal pedestrian, you know? Yeah. Um, oh, also another thing that was really cool because you sent this to me because I was traveling was there's a Facebook group called Dancing in the Air.
oh yeah. Shout out Dancing
And
in the Air.
I was like, this is so brilliant, but I don't know how like likely you align with it, like at the right time. But these are dancers where they are sometimes usually have like a long layover at an airport. So they'd be like, hey, I'm at LAX, Alaska Airlines, gate 52. Here's a selfie of me. This is what I look like.
Yeah.
I have a 3-hour layover. Please come save me.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be like on the same gate around that time, like that day. But I was like, I remember the guy having caption being like, please come save me. I was like, I understand that. Like that, like when you're like, what do I do for 3 hours? Like there's only so much like window shopping you can do. But if you're dancing with someone at the airport, the time's going by so fast. Or even talking with about dance, it's on the airport, the time will fly, So so definitely check that out. Dancing in the Air Facebook group. We are not sponsored by them at all. We are not sponsored by anyone. Oh, the dream.
We're
Oh, the
waiting.
dream.
We are waiting for a wealthy suitor to come sweep us off our feet and help fuel our dance addiction. So if you know any, please reach out. Stop.
Oh, and some I thought of some more things about my South America trip, just little things I remember that my private teacher taught me or said to me about in tango class. But he said, and this is where I think privates help so much, even though like in the moment it seems like a lot of money, or like let's say $80 for a private. But if you're taking 4 group lessons, that's already $80. But you can learn you learn a lot and fast in a private. So it's kind of like one of those things where like it kind of financially might look like a big hit, but it actually long term might be better. It's like privates and social dancing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
like it pays for itself.
Yes, that's the right word. Thank you. I was like, what is that phrase? It pays for
Shopping
itself.
at Costco versus like going to, I don't know, Ralph's or Giant for like the same thing. You're like, oh, I know I'm gonna get potatoes. I might as well get the giant thing of potatoes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Toilet paper, whatever.
Toilet paper. That's probably better. More
because
relatable.
that's not a non-perishable one.
Yeah, that's true. I do enjoy potatoes, but yeah, toilet paper. That probably connects better. Anyways.
But he said, because I did like a kind of extra long, I took a 2-hour private lesson because I was there. I was like, oh, I might as well do one back to back. And that's it. And he said, you learned what I teach beginners in 5 classes. So that's where I was like, okay, because and then also like little tidbits I can ask him one-on-one, being like, okay, I've never been to a malanga, which I did not know a malanga is like their way of saying a dance social. And what is the etiquette? Like I know for most other dance socials, you come in, you pay, and you're like, hey, do you want to dance? Or they can ask you if you want to dance. But I was like, I don't know anything about Argentinian tango. And also when I was Googling this, there's like 3 types of tango, right? There's like ballroom, American ballroom tango, international ballroom tango, and then Argentinian tango. And they all are different. So anyways, and he was like telling me like kind of a little lowdown, like, if you want to dance with someone or they want to dance with you, but you don't want to, you can look away. And then he said, watch first when you go to a malanga, like don't dance first, like watch and observe. And that, which made remind me of what you told me before when you went to like hi-fi, like observe and see and look around at the dancers and how they dance and whatnot. I feel like Argentinian tango it's a very intuitive dance. It like for me, like I learned the basic footwork, but in a dance social, you don't really use those steps. Like you can, but most people kind of like move you. It's just it really I felt like I was learning how to lead and follow essentially, but in a very close embrace way. So I feel like if there's some people where in our fusion community they have not taken tango, but after dancing with them, I'm like, oh, you would do well because you know how to lead, you know how to follow really well in a close embrace. So and you'd be able to catch on to it pretty quickly. But I feel like maybe tango is one of those dances where it's easy to maybe get the basics down, but hard to master.
Ooh, yeah.
And I wonder if there's other styles of dances where it's hard, the learning curve is hard, but then once you learn the basics of it, you're good. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't learned Zouk much, so I would love to get more into it. Because I didn't realize it, but when someone asked like, months ago, like, do you do Zouk? And you're like, no, but then you realize like you've been moving in a very Zouk-like way. There's a lot of dancers now. I look, I'm like, oh, at Fusion, I'm like, they move in a very Zouk-like way without realizing they're doing Zouk, right?
Yeah. And that's a dance that I've been flirting with, we'll say, because like I haven't taken privates. Sorry.
Ew, gross.
I like coughed. I was like trying to like stifle it though. Like it didn't work.
Yeah, you sound gross.
All right. So I'm drinking tea.
There's a mute button that you could hit.
I don't know how to use that stuff. Okay, I don't even. I use Teams and the other one, FaceTime, because I'm an Apple baby. Um,
When I was taking the zoo class, it was
oh
very
yeah.
humbling
Hmm.
being like, oh, I thought this was gonna be easy, but you know how you don't realize that your muscle memory kind of kicks in
Yeah.
and it makes you do not Zook or like not
Hmm.
whatever you're learning.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Zook is like, as a follower, you put one foot down, you're constantly pivoting on it. Whereas in
Yeah.
most dances,
Yeah.
you pick up both feet, like you step, step,
Hmm.
step, step, like walk, 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 in pretty much almost every single dance or a lot of dances. And so that was so hard to get down where he was like, don't move that foot, like don't pick it up, don't pick up that foot.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was like,
Like keep the weight on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it was so frustrating, but humbling at the same time, being like, wow, I can't get something so basic down, but it's because your body's so used to moving a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, once you get that, I felt like, okay, after that, I'm
Hmm.
good. Once
Yeah.
you break that, like, I'm gonna say plateau, but that
Hmm.
that like obstacle,
Yeah.
like that hard obstacle course, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
then the rest of the game, the rest of the,
Yeah.
gets like it's fine, it's average. So you're like
Yeah.
you're not going on difficulty level at this point.
Mhm.
But I think it's a very flowy, watery feel for me dancing
Uh-huh.
it, and um, it's very. I think like what you said before, it's like it can be very forgiving. Like it's not something I didn't feel like it was something where it had so much precision.
Hmm.
So that's why you know, um, yeah, it's more forgiving.
Yeah. I felt like and this is a little hack for some folks if you gotta pay your bills and you don't got a whole lot left over for privates. If you can, when you're at a social, like grab the instructor, grab the people teaching the classes, the people who are like really good that you're like, oh my gosh, they're so good. Most of the time, especially when you're like, hey, I'm new, I'm not great, but I want to learn. Tell me what I need to do to get better, or give me most of the time, those people are like, oh my gosh, yes, because dancers tend to want to grow the scene and they're like, oh,
Yes.
if I can help, the budding saplings, I want to water them so that they can flourish. Like I was at a workshop for tango, and there was also one for Zouk. I'll talk about that one in a minute, but for tango, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to understand this, but I keep associating it with bachata. And I feel like with bachata, I'm like, this is why, and we kind of had that conversation. And so he asked me to lead. He was like, okay, lead me. And so I led him for a little bit, and he was like, think about the spine as a column and keep the column stacked rather than rolling like a wave. So rather than using lateral waves, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, after we went through the class, we had the steps and all this stuff, and the foundation was great. I was still not getting it because I didn't get the what's the feel and the taste of it. And I'm not gonna, I'm not like a tango master or anything at all. Right? I've never been to a malanga. Did I say it right? Hope I said it right. Right. But when he explained that, I was like, oh, so then the choreo made so much more sense. And I was like floating through it, like, oh, this makes it. Cause to me, I was like, I keep trying to figure it out and figure out how I fit in this. And it just didn't work until I had that little unlock. And then when it came to to Zook, it was very similar where it was there's a certain rolling, waving, flowingness that it has. And when I had a conversation with the instructor about it, I was like, I feel like it's somewhere between like West Coast swing and salsa, where like I want to salsa to it, but I feel like the connection for West Coast makes more sense, but the timing is throwing me off. So how do I reconcile that? And we just kind of had a conversation about it, and I don't remember all the things that they said. I just remember by the end of it being like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and then it just felt so much better, and it was like it was fluid. It wasn't like perfect, but it made more sense, and I could sit in it more.
Props to great dance teachers out there because I think a lot of times people think, in a way, it reminds me of consulting, right? Like you might think you can just teach and regurgitate information to a whole crowd of people and be like, okay, that's it. I'm going to teach ABC, right? Have the
Hmm.
same script, that kind of stuff. But great teachers, they can see the confused look on people's faces and be like, okay, you didn't understand what I just said. So I'm going to have to change up what I said in a way
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
it will click with you. So I realize like some people, especially maybe advanced people, um, if you're teaching like a bunch of advanced people, probably gonna use more technique because they already have that background, they know what you're saying, etc. Right? But for people, other people, sometimes when you say like, okay, when you turn your head, turn in a way where it looks like someone just called your name and you go, huh? Like that. So they're using like everyday human actions to break it down for someone, right? And for you right there, that person was like, okay, imagine that you're a column and a stacked column, and it clicked with you where you're like, oh, and then it clicked, and then you can go on your merry way onto the social dance floor. So yeah, dance teachers, props out to you guys for being able to have the patience to do that. And especially when we all look confused and we're like, what? I'm not getting it. And I can see they're like, okay, how can I say this in a way where it'll click with her or him?
So speaking of teachers and teaching and asking them to dance and all that, like what was your experience like dancing? Because you didn't do a lot of social dancing.
Right. I did have one. Because it was hard. It was hard finding social dances in South America. But when I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, there was like plenty of tango. So that was that. And I did go to Malanga because I met a dancer in Colombia, and she was from Sweden, I think. And she was just like, oh, you should check out the school and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so, we were on a food tour, and I found out she danced. We started talking about dancing. And then all of a sudden, like the two guys in our group just suddenly disappeared. Like not disappeared, but we were like in our own conversation. Right. So I went to, I stayed at a hostel near the school that she recommended. And they also have dance socials at like Friday or, certain times of the week, certain days of the week, called LVT. And so again, it was, it brings me back to the beginning days when I started social dancing. I was intimidated, not intimidated, but just kind of like, I don't know what to expect. I'm going down to this basement. I don't know like the people at all. Like, like you feel like very uncomfortable, like out of your skin, and it really feels, because, back in LA now, I'm like, oh, I see the same faces, like hello again, that kind of stuff. It reminded me of what it's like to be a newcomer to a dance scene, and which made me think about like, okay, what is the hospitality we can offer, or like that to someone that's completely new. I was like, it just reminded me back to like those awkward days and awkward nights. So anyways, so I go there, and this was an interesting one where it was lovely in the fact that you go there and there's a live band playing. So they have that, and they have like in between here and there, like a little tango show of like two professional dancers dancing to a little performance, like maybe for 10 minutes, and they switch over to the live band again, and then they switch over to the DJ. And so it felt like when I was watching them dance tango that everyone seemed to know each other. And that felt, even though they didn't, I think, because later on I was like, do you think these people know each other from like seeing each other week after week? And they're like, I think some people are like not, no, some of them are just, some of them maybe are friends, but a lot of them are strangers. So I can see how it feels. I'm reminded how intimidating the dance floor can look to someone that's new to the dance scene. And so I'm watching, and I am so scared I was like, how do I ask someone? So I'm looking at people, like, in tango where they're like, you look away, and I'm like, no one's looking at me. I was like, this is so awkward. I hate this.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I was like, is this what it feels like for people to ask them out? Anyways, so I was just looking around, but it wasn't like someone looked at me and looked away. It was like no one was looking at my face. So I was like, hello? That's what it felt like. Hello, anyone? So yes. And then maybe there might be like one or two men that like looked away, but I don't know if it was like I'm looking away because I don't want to dance with you, or look away because they're like, oh, I was actually going to the bathroom, look away, And so I was like, man, this is so like, not as straightforward as like going up to someone and be like, do you want to dance? So later on, I met this other girl like outside of this, and she's like, oh yeah, some places you can totally, that are more like modern stuff. You can totally go up to people and ask them like, do you want to dance? It doesn't have to be like, you got to look and look away, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a part where I was like, this is so, I was like, I paid, I got in, and I wanted to leave in like 20 minutes. It was just so, yeah. I think that was the part. Instead, I wouldn't mind if someone just said, do you want to dance? Or if I can go up to someone and said, do you want to dance? But then I was like, am I breaking etiquette? This is
yeah. I remember when I would like first go out and stuff. And I mean, to be honest, I still get nervous when I go to socials, but I've trained myself to look at it like
being
excitement.
nervous?
Yeah. Don't tell nobody. All right. Don't tell nobody that. They can't. The streets can't know. All right. But low key, I tell myself, I'm like, oh, that's excitement, because physiologically your body gets the same reaction. It's your brain that's like, oh, I'm afraid. So I just tell myself, instead of I'm afraid, it's like, oh, I'm excited. And when I do that, it's like it's the same energy, but it's channeled in a positive direction instead of a negative one. So I don't get in that negative feedback loop where I'm like, oh, well, I'm nervous. And because I'm nervous, I'm probably going to be bad. And because I think I'm going to be bad, I probably am going to be bad. And it keeps going
spiraling.
and then going. And then I'm like,
Right.
I'm flatlining.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, and this, I guess this can be like a wrap up question.
Wait, I'm not done with that topic.
Oh no, okay.
Sorry, I'll tell you the part. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was like, it's now kind of like all soaking in. Now I'm like, oh yeah. No, I think I'm waking up now. Okay. So,
we should leave it in. People will be like, oh, they're real. They actually like because we're actually like just like talking, right? It's not like scripted.
Yeah. Oh, you may even like feel like, yeah. We're slowly waking up. It's 3:35 p.m. right now. When I was at the Malanga feeling awkward, I didn't realize too that in Malangas, you dance in sets of like, I forgot what they're called. Is it tandems? Anyways, you dance with the person you're dancing with for like 3 to 4 songs straight in a row. And then there's a little break. There's like a little tiny intermission, like a 30-second intermission, whatever. And then you go for another round with someone else if you want to. But I don't know how I feel about that because I'm so used to being like, you dance for 3 to 4 minutes and then next song. And because like, because sometimes I'm like, oh no, I'm stuck with someone I kind of am not enjoying dancing with. And it's going to be the next 15 to 20 minutes I'm stuck with this person. Oh, that's
funny. Yeah.
And so, I mean, this girl told me, she's like, you can just say like, oh, and leave the dance and stuff. But I don't have the heart to do that.
That one's hard. Yeah.
And also like, I'm in a different country and some of them don't speak English and I don't know how to be like, bye-bye.
You're just like, thank you. And then you like dip. You're like, all right.
Right. So I went off to the side because there was no one asking me to dance or looking at me, looking my way or anything. So I just went to an empty chair, like along the wall. There was a lot of, at this place, it was like kind of like a dinner. It looks like a dinner with a dance floor. So there's a lot of tables and people are having drinks and food and, what's it called? Like around a dance floor. So like kind of like reserved seating. So there was like some just like solo chairs along the wall. And I was like, I'm just gonna sit here. And I remember just sitting there being like, I really hope someone asks me to dance. And I hope someone will just welcome me. I hope there's one person that will be that person.
Yeah.
And I swear, I don't know, but just magic, like in a few, maybe like 5 minutes, a guy came up and he's like, hi, do you want to dance? And I was like, yes. And so we went to dance and thank goodness he knew English.
Yeah.
He knows English. Turns out he actually works like his client. He's Argentinian, but his clients are like American companies. So it's like, you gotta know English for that.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we started dancing. I think connection wise, like it was okay, but I was also trying to get my bearings down. But then he, I think after like the second dance or whatever, he says like, oh, do you want to sit at my table, with my friend? And I remember being really hesitant because I was like, yeah, I mean, yes, they had front row seats to the stage or like the dance area. So and also it's nice that you have a table, you can sit down, put your stuff down. But part of me was also like, man, I have to whip out my Google Translate app to like it's more mental thinking, being like, hola, me llamo Trang, like just trying to speak Spanish, like because I'm not fluent in it, but just being like, when you speak to someone that doesn't know English well, you're like, hi, how are you? I'm good. It's very like broken down, and you can't have like a full conversation, right?
Yeah,
it just takes a lot of mental energy to try to speak to someone or broken Spanish, and then they say something really fast back to you because that's what they do, and you're just like, what? And then you say, okay, let's just use Google Translate. So I go over to the table, and turns out his friend's from South Africa. It's this like British guy. So the three of us start talking about dance and like mostly travel and stuff like that. And his friend didn't dance. He was just watching and stuff like that. So I started talking, being like, yeah, he's like, it's intimidating. Looks right to me. I was like, yeah, it is. So we just started connecting.
Can confirm. It's hard. Yes. Yeah.
We start connecting on that level and just observing. And then they had like the tango dancers performing, and then they ordered some empanadas and some drinks and stuff like that. And then at this place, they switch over for a session of salsa music. Like there's a little small session where they play salsa, and the vibe of the place changed because tango music, or like the classic tango music they play and everyone's dancing, it looks so serious. It looks very sultry. Yep, exactly. Like sultry. And then once they have a little intermission music and then they played salsa, it was like fiesta party vibes. Everyone. Yeah. And a lot of these people were, I can say older, like at least I'd say there's some people I feel like maybe 30s, but like 40s and 50s, like for sure. Crowd and whatnot. And it was a party vibe. And I was like, all right, hey, do you want a salsa? And that one, I was like, we have a great connection. We were like dancing. Yeah. And then after that, they stopped. They had a little like tango performance. And then they start playing what they call rock and roll. So I was like, what is rock and roll? This is interesting. And then I was watching, I was like, oh, it's swing. Like they start dancing swing for a little session for this like
Malanga. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So they call it rock and roll, but I was like, I don't know what swing. It definitely didn't look like West Coast swing. I was like, it kind of maybe looks like Lindy Hop sort of, but like a loose version of Lindy Hop when I was watching them. But anyways, so that Argentinian guy and I danced, and it was like pretty much I just kind of fusioned it. I didn't know I tried my best to triple step and all that stuff, but at the same time, it was fine. We had so much fun. But it was one of those things where in travel, I was like, this is what I love about people. There's always like, it just takes one or two people to really make an impact on you to be like, I had a great time. If it wasn't for him inviting me over to his table with his friend and that kind of stuff, and like us talking, chatting, I would have been like, it was okay. And that night I just went home. It would have been a completely different experience. Yeah. And with that, he said, hey, tomorrow I'm having a dinner party with a bunch of other travelers. Do you want to come? Are you free? And, I have a chef and he's going to be cooking all the food. It's a chef from actually the States that lives in Argentina now. But, that was one of the most memorable experiences because they either met through like wine or they met through dance. And so obviously there's a little dancing that happened like very late at that night, the following dinner party. But I met the chef and his girlfriend, and the girlfriend is a dancer. When she's American, but when she moved to Argentina, she kind of just started dancing and became what do you call it? She's a dancer where she performs, but also she's a taxi dancer. I was like, what is a taxi dancer?
Oh
Yeah. I was like, this is a job. So you can have, let's imagine someone being like, I'm going to a dance social or a wedding and that kind of stuff. But like, I kind of want to bring a dancer that can dance with me because I'm still trying to learn. And because I'm still trying to learn, I know a lot of people don't want to dance with me. So they pay you to like for your Uber to come out to the event. They pay for your meal and drinks for that night, and they pay for your Uber home, but they also pay you for the hour that you're with them. Like, I don't know what the rate is. Let's just say it's $50 an hour. And you're like, let's say like a wedding is like 4 hours long. They'll be like, that's $50 for 4 hours, you know? So like, I was like, wow, this is a job. That sounds dope.
Sounds like a great job. I'm like, what? I've been doing this for free? What? What do you mean? I'm about to start sending invoices, man. Like,
yeah, that'd be so cool. I maybe we should put it out there, being like, hey, because we have so many dancers in Fusion, right? Or just not in Fusion, just in LA, and being like, yo, hire us if you want us to hype your wedding dance floor or event dance floor.
Hey, look,
like we will make it happen.
I don't know if we should put this out there. I feel like this is like a hey, we might need to do this for real.
And you know
what I'm saying?
I know, and it's like we can come at 10 p.m. at your wedding or whatever. You don't have to pay for us like the dinner part because that's your guests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you want us to kind of like come at 10 and mosey our way on the dance floor and pay for like just those evening hours for us to hype up the dance floor and dance with your guests,
people,
dance with other people, and make them have a good time, contact us. That'd be so cool. Anyways, taxi dance group. Anyway, so that's what she does. So that was cool. And you know, one thing that I'm glad all this happened because she told me, I was like saying, oh, I went to LVT, and you know, I told her about my experience, and luckily I met him because he helped me ease in and felt more like more welcome and stuff like that. And she said, oh yeah, like that place is like, it can be intimidating. Like it's more, it's traditional, not let's say fully traditional, but like, you know, there's other places that are a bit more like modern where you can, again, like you can go up to people and be like, do you want to dance? It doesn't have to be like this thing where you look at people and all that kind of stuff and look away. And then she said, oh, I told her, I was like, I was thinking to go back on Sunday night because just to maybe like do another dance social to kind of enforce what I learned, practice a little bit more. And she's like, oh, I don't even go on Sunday. The professionals come on Sunday. Like it's intimidating. It's even more intimidating than the night you went, you know? And I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. But she's like, yeah, don't let that one be your impression of like what every Malanga dance social, tango dance social looks like. There's different places that are more modern or like, you know, different music and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Because, you know, I was only in Argentina for like a certain amount of time. So that was like the only impression. And I know like one place doesn't speak for all places, but when that's the only place you go to and that it impacts you, whatever, that's what you think. So I'm really glad that all those connections in travel and stuff that happens because now I know better. So that was, now I'm just gushing about travel because I think,
no, it's super.
I think
super
like,
dope.
I think dancing teaches you a lot about people and some ways about yourself, but travel teaches a lot about humanity.
Ooh. Okay, so closing thoughts. Being a traveler, right? Going around and popping into these different places, being like, hey, I'm here for like a week or like 2 days, and then I'm out. Do you feel like there's a pressure on you to like kind of show up and be like, oh, you have to be amazing? Or do you feel like whether it's good or whether it's bad, you're like, I don't care, I'm not gonna be here. So like you have like more of a freedom with it?
Actually, you know what? Now that when you were saying that, I would say both depending on location. So, okay. Yeah. So internationally, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to be back at this place in this country again. And these people I don't even know. So if I have an off day, off night, I suck or that kind of stuff. Or I think there's less pressure. There's still pressure being like, I don't want to be a bad dancer, right? I want people to enjoy dancing, you know? But you know, if it's kind of like when you're embarrassed because let's say you fell on the dance floor or something like that. You're like, they never get to see me again. Thank goodness. But it's like in the States, they might see you again. They could, because if you go to another, and this is where it's like, you know, when they're like, treat people the way you want to be treated because you never know when it comes back at you again. Right. So for example, you, we're in the LA scene, that kind of stuff. Right. But if I go to, let's say the DC scene or the Pennsylvania scene, which we'll talk about in our next episode, most likely I might see these people again when they go to another Fusion Fest in like Austin, Texas, or like Seattle or like San Francisco. And we're going to like, I might not, let's say I was mean to someone, like I might not dance with them again, but it's like, you're going to see each other again. They're going to remember you. And you never know when people are gonna be like, you know, Trang I remember how she made me feel on the dance floor. And that wasn't good.
Yeah.
People remember that. So
they do. Yeah.
So in a way, I feel like I don't want to be a bad dancer either, because they'll be like, oh, I didn't enjoy dancing with that person. There's difference, I think, being like not as technical, I guess, or having like fundamentals versus like, oh, we're both good dancers, but our chemistry was just off on the dance floor.
Yeah.
I think with local scene, it's a bit different. Because sometimes you're like, wow, this world is really small. It really is. You see the same faces over and over again.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
So I would say that summed up is, yeah, there's different like mental pressures, subconscious pressures, I think that, but again, part of it's also like, I put that on myself. Maybe other people don't. You know, I kind of like this idea of like traveling and seeing different dance scenes and being like, let's see how it is and be able to like learn. It's just like traveling for personal reasons where you're like, I want to learn more about the world, what I can take, what I can bring back to my hometown, what they do that's more innovative, or like things that I'm like, ooh, that did not work out, but I'm glad I think the one thing that travel taught me is just being able to be, as cheesy as it sounds, more grateful for what I have back home. Because you really don't know how much you have until you go out there and you're like, wow. Even in South America, I was like, I miss diverse food. After a while, after the foodie, you're like, I want some Thai food. I want some of this. And granted, there's like maybe one or two random restaurants that have it, but because they don't have the ingredients, it's not going to be, it just made me realize like how good I have it in the States, like food wise, the roots that I grew and connections I grew with people wise. Because I, traveling alone, I didn't get lonely. I'm like, I don't really get lonely. It's just more like you get bored and you can't share it with anyone. Like there are times where I'm just like, oh man, I wish so-and-so and so-and-so were here so they can see what I'm seeing, experience what I'm experiencing. That awkwardness. No. But it also made me think also about, wouldn't it be cool to have a dance retreat overseas? Anyways.
We got to save that for a future. That's the future. Yeah. That's a, yeah.
There's some moments where I said, like, I remember looking at people watching, being like, this, I know a lot of the dancers that I know would enjoy exactly what I'm doing right now.
I'm telling you, somebody's going to listen to this and they're just going to start taking notes and be like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Cause I feel like we're dropping gems, and it's like one person, all it takes is one. Cause we know like sometimes dancers are like, oh yeah, I'll get right to it. And then they forget for like a week. And then they remember on a random like Thursday at like 4:30 and they're like, oh shoot. But there's going to be one person who's like, oh no, I'm actually going to do this. And they do it. And they're going to just,
but that's what's good. Like we're just like inspiring or helping people get their creative juices flowing and showing that it's possible to make it happen on your own, but I do think I can totally see a dance intensive or something like that. I don't know, somewhere in Mexico or something like that, where it's essentially we're doing what you could do in LA, but it's different. It's so different. I love international travel because it's different when you're in a different world, or it feels like you're in a different world.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, I can talk for travel forever, but there's people are going to stop. They're going to be like, Trang, this podcast episode's so long. So, okay, with that, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it. Please comment. If you DM us, copy and paste that and put it in the comments section. And give us a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify. And again, follow us on social media at Fusion Dance Podcasts. And thank you for being here with us. And we'll see you in the next episode.